Donald Trump was interviewed recently by Axios, and the entire interview now is available. You can watch it on YouTube, and you should, but let's talk about a few different parts of it. The first has to do with his coronavirus strategy. How seriously is he taking it? Here's a bit from that portion of the interview.
China, we were doing good. Then all of a sudden the game changed, and I had to close it down. I closed down the greatest economy ever in history. And then I closed it down. And now we're opening it. And we saved, by the way, by closing it down, we saved millions of lives. If we would have gone to herd, and we knew very little about the disease, if we would have gone herd, we would have lost millions of people, millions of people. One person's too much. We're at 140,000 people. One person is too much. We're at 140. We would have lost millions of people. And those people that really understand it, they really understand it. They said it's incredible, the job.
Okay. He tries to get him to explain who are these people that tell him he did a great job. And I love it's not like I'm a great, huge fan of Jonathan Swan or whatever, but he's like, look, I got to master that. That's my Halloween costume coming up. Okay, so there's a few parts of that, Viviana, that we're going to have to break down. But what did you think about that bit and overall his talk about the pandemic during this interview?
Well, I want to start off by just telling everybody out there who's dealing with this on a personal level, my condolences are with you. My heart is with these families that are suffering. And it's really hard because, I get frustrated when I see interviews like this and I laugh because he's so comical and ridiculous. And we were just laughing about Jonathan's faces. And this is heavy stuff. Somehow Trump is always talking about this group of people that are experts and everybody. I want to know who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
There's this group of people, a sample size group that Trump refers to constantly, and we never know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Trump, Jonathan tries to get to the bottom of it in this interview a couple of times.
Well, of course, there's no bottom, or I should say, we're in the bottom already, because there's no people. There's no people, and it seems like sometimes people can be so flawed that you seem crazy to identify what they're doing. So if I tell you, oh no, Donald Trump just goes through life and whenever he feels pressure or criticism, he just makes up people that are impressed with him and then talks about those people. That sounds crazy because normal people can't imagine doing that. Like if I told you, I'm writing this book right now and I gave it to some people and they said it's literally the best book that they've ever read. You would have to assume that's true because the alternative is insane. But that is that's the world we're in. People are not telling him he did an amazing job. Maybe Stephen Miller, is telling him he did a great job. Maybe that, not technically a person,
honestly,
but
Stephen Miller is an evil SOB, but he also knows that Trump's an idiot.
I think so. Yes.
He's aware because he's not a dumb person, Stephen Miller.
Yeah, just evil.
Right.
Evil. Yes. And so to the content of what was talked about in that, he says a few things that are wrong. One, that it was just sent over by China. And he talks earlier about how we cut off the travel, which obviously, thank God he did that because we haven't had a pandemic here because of that. As Jonathan Swan pointed out, it was already here, you ignoramus. He didn't say that, but he thought it. And then Trump goes on to talk about what he has done. He saved millions of lives. So he will always seem like a success if the alternative is that literally nothing was done. Right. But the third thing is he said that the doing nothing is the going herd. That's the president of the United States saying going herd. And what he's referring to there is the idea that we can develop herd immunity by simply allowing enough people to get sick and to develop antibodies so that they will be resistant or immune to the virus, which again, we don't even know is true in this virus. But the biggest issue with that is who was suggesting that we should go herd? One person.
This has been a huge talking point on the right, the extreme right. I mean, this since the beginning of the pandemic, and they look to Sweden. Sweden's going herd. Well, a lot of the herd is dead in Sweden. And I mean, you make sacrifices of people's lives just to see what happens. And then these are the same people, if we get to the vaccine stuff, these are the same people that are like, I'm not going to risk it, but you're willing to let other people die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we can get your herd immunity.
Exactly. And look, when they were freaking out about Sweden in the beginning and people in Sweden, medical professionals were saying, I don't know if this is a really good idea. I was worried about it then. Then it turned out that, look, has Sweden done better than us? Yes, there are some very good reasons for that. Sweden has 7 people in it. That's one of them. But Sweden is also surrounded by other countries that did better because they didn't go herd.
And they
so
did
it
a
looks
lockdown.
good. Exactly, they did a lockdown. So they look better compared to us. They look worse compared to other countries around them. But I really want to drive this home. The whole him saying, "Look, I could have gone herd, but I didn't," to get credit now is even more insane when you realize that he was the one that was pushing for it. I've read this graphic like 10 times now. During one task force meeting in the Situation Room last month, this is way back in the beginning of the pandemic, Trump turned to Dr. Fauci and challenged him. Trump wanted to understand why talk of herd immunity, going herd, allowing the coronavirus to sweep a nation largely unchecked with the belief that those who survived would then be immune was such a bad idea. And he said in particular, why don't we let this wash over the country? According to 2 different people who were in the meeting, he raised that question repeatedly in the Oval Office, by the way. Fauci initially seemed confused by the term wash over because Fauci is a regular person who's not insane, but became alarmed once he understood what Trump was asking. And he responded, "Mr. President, many people would die. Yes, those millions that Trump is now bragging he saved, he was suggesting should die to follow a strategy that would have been apocalyptic even if it worked, but because of the nature of coronavirus antibodies, probably wouldn't have even resulted in immunity afterward."
Absolutely. We don't even know yet. That's the thing.
We don't.
And if he's so keen on going herd, why are you getting tested all the time? Why are you making sure everybody's getting tested around you? Why don't you just get it to get your immunity since you believe in it so much? It's very, very duplicitous. And, not that I'm shocked, but it's upsetting when there's so many people dying. I mean, like Jonathan said, it's 1,000 people.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, and he,
yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get to that part of the interview.
The dying, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's obviously, Jonathan Swan was critical in the interview, but he was like also, they were tough questions only because Trump never faces questions that tough, and also because Trump has done a terrible job making the questions tough because they're about material he's already flubbed. But he's trying to help him, like how many olive branches, he just came loaded with olive branches that he was holding out to him.
The only time that Trump actually stopped and was listening for 2 seconds, because he was talking over him the whole interview.
Yes.
It was when he was telling him how he gets massive crowds, and I followed you, and Trump was on every word. He wanted to hear everything he had, and that was the only time.
Exactly. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.